Okay, today I have Nick Isham, singer, songwriter, producer, and we're going to be talking about his new single called Thinking Too Much. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Oh, you bet. Hey, well, we're going to be talking about the single, but in the meantime, I want to get people up to speed with who you are, and you have a pretty compelling story, and I hope you're not tired of talking about it, but you are the football guy who became followed his dream and became a singer-songwriter. So why don't you tell us how that happened?
Yeah, well, growing up, I always played football, and that was kind of the goal. And the plan for me was to go to the NFL, and that was kind of the big plan on my mind. And then I got a scholarship out of high school. I played at Westlake High School in Thousand Oaks, California, and then got a scholarship out of high school to Louisiana Tech University and played there. And I actually picked up guitar my freshman year of college, basically, just to kind of get my mind off of the X's and O's and the football field and that whole thing. Because I don't know, did you ever play football? Were you ever football?
I think flag football in junior high, but nothing where I got crushed by the big guys, but nothing like what you did.
But yeah, anyways, it's a bit of a grind. So to get my mind off that, I was picked up the guitar and started playing, and I started writing just for fun because I've always loved writing. Pretty soon after I picked the guitar up, and I just did that for fun. And I kind of went to a couple of different schools, chasing the football thing. And then by the end of my college career, I just kind of looked at the whole scenario, and I was just kind of enjoyed the process of writing songs more than I did going to practice and going to workouts. And I like the idea of playing with my kids at 50 years old. So
yeah, nice. Well, so when you started doing the music after you left football, how soon did you actually go into the studio and record your first song?
Man, well, I actually kind of a two-part thing to that. I learned basically a couple months before I started. I learned how to play basic chords and stuff, and then right before I started college. And then when I went into college, it was about maybe a month into college where I wrote my first song. And then, like I said, it was just kind of for fun. So I had a little recording setup in my apartment in college, and I kind of just lay little things down there. So it was kind of just a little home studio setup, but it was all just for fun. Me, a couple of linemen who sang and played guitar too. We would just go and just kind of have fun. And then it wasn't until 3 or 4 years after that I actually decided. It wasn't until the end of my college career where I decided that I wanted to do this for a living. And it was shortly after that where I actually ended up getting into the studio and started recording my own music with some intention behind it,
Well, sure. Now, how many tracks have you recorded so far?
So I've released 4. I put my first one out last year in October, called Nothing Like You.
Nothing Like You, and then I saw you then did one called Say It?
Yeah, so it's Nothing Like You, and I did one called Say It, and then did one called I Wanna Know, and then the most recent one is Thinking Too Much.
Well, here's what I find really bold about your story is, someone who's dedicated themselves to what could have been another career, professional football, right, and goes into something that they really love. But it's kind of hard, though, because don't you think, I put so much into this other thing? What goes through your mind when you give up that other big thing to pursue, your new dream?
Yeah, it was tough, but it was the right thing that I didn't really go into I'm going to miss this. I didn't really go into any of those thoughts I'm giving up necessarily. It was more this part of my life is done. You know what I mean? This part of my journey, or whatever you want to call it, is over. And it was cool. I had a pretty good career as a football player, so I was able to look back at it and smile and appreciate all the experiences that I had. And then, like, I played, on pretty big stages at a pretty young age too. So it was cool to be able to look back and see the accomplishments that I was able to get, and then just kind of change my point of view a little bit. Like, my goal is to still play at the Super Bowl. I still have that same goal. So it's just going to be during the halftime show this time instead of on the field.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Just as the halftime show. Well, you know what? I think it starts with you having that goal in your mind. And so with your teammates, though, I'm really curious, what has their reaction been, and what kind of support do you get, or even from your old coaches? What do they think?
Well, I'm not in touch with too many of my old coaches. I still talk to my high school coach every once in a while, and he's totally in support of it. He's like, thinks it's awesome. And then I've kind of, had a solid group of like a few guys that I've kind of kept in touch with from the football years, and they're all super supportive. They come to my shows as much as they can, and they're always like asking to listen to stuff and reposting. If I ever, like, on the new singles that I've released, they're always posting stuff about it. So it's cool. I'm super fortunate to have, like, kind of built up a nice little support group around me. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. Now, I was looking at your influences, and you're talking about, no one comes out of a vacuum. You take your influences, and then you kind of, put it through you, and then you come out with your unique style. But I was trying to figure out if I could, name what genre you are. You definitely have a pop appeal, but there's both, I think, a romantic side, an edgier side. Like, how do you describe your style to people?
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, man. I would say kind of acoustic pop is usually if people ask what my genre is. So definitely pop with emphasis. Like I don't go too into, like, crazy production, but it stays pretty cool and edgy, like you said. I try to keep that kind of thing going with the an acoustic guitar or piano kind of being as the main backbone. Like, I came from, like, songwriting. Like, I've grown up and just been around. I mean, there's a little bit of background for you. Like, I grew up, instead of, like, all, like, the Led Zeppelin and the Leonard Skinners and those kind of rock and roll influences growing up, my dad introduced me to Miles Davis, John Coltrane, and then, like, Motown, Marvin Gaye, that stuff, and then, like, P-Funk and Parliament and George Clinton. So I come from, like, and, like, Stevie Wonder. So it was, like, super, like, funky, rhythmic, super rhythmic stuff, you know what I mean? And then, love songs, like Motown, and jazz is also, can be very romantic. So, like, that's kind of where my, influences started, or what I was exposed to at a young age. And then I kind of got into it originally with, like, Jack Johnson, John Mayer, Jason Mraz. Like, those were my first kind of real, like, heavy music influences. And then from there I, grew into the Ed Sheerans and the Shawn Mendes and the Justin Timberlakes and, all that kind of stuff. And even now I love country. Well, now I love country music. So, it's kind of
so it sounds like you're still absorbing influences.
Oh, all the time. Absolutely, every day. I'm always looking for more things that I can, get inspired from, and take from to use in my own work. So, absolutely.
Well, when I first, heard about you and, the name Nick Isham, of course, the first thing that popped into my head was Mark Isham, who very prolific, both musician but also a film composer. So it sounds like you really grew up just immersed in not just music, but the music industry itself.
Yeah, we were definitely always, me and my brothers and my sister, just always around music. There was never not any music going on. There's always music. So I was definitely very, very fortunate to have that. I can't even tell you.
What was your dad's reaction when you said you were gonna go from football to music?
Funny enough, it was more shocking to both of my parents because my mom's an artist too. So it's a very kind of artistic household. She's more of a visual artist. She's a painter. But
okay.
When I said, guys, I want to be a football player, that was the big shocking part. They were like, what the hell? He wants to be a football player? How did we get an athlete? That doesn't make sense. So then when I started to go down the road of music, they were like, oh, this makes more sense. So, no, but my parents are, both of them, they're my best friends, and like, without them, I don't know where I'd be. So, like, they are my biggest fans and, biggest support duo I could ever, ask for, so.
Well, when you said you were going to go full force into music, what was the best business advice your parents gave you?
Ooh, man. My dad says my dad uses the 3 P's, and I might butcher this, but practice, persist, and promote, or practice, promote, and persist. Basically, do whatever you're going to do it a lot, practice a lot, get really, really good at it, don't stop doing it, and then promote the shit out of it. Sorry for the language.
What's been your favorite way to promote your music so far?
Playing live shows, honestly. That's the most fun and the what I've found to be the best way to promote any of this stuff is just every time I play live, there's people coming up to me and there's people reaching out, and you kind of really get to. I mean, you've been to live shows before, I'm assuming. You get to really.
Oh yeah, probably since before you were born, but yeah.
What was your favorite live show that you ever went to?
I think it was Stevie Nicks in 1983, and
Joe
Walsh opened for her.
That's awesome. See,
and
that's something that you'll never forget.
It's so cool. It's because of all the Stevie Nicks wannabes. They're just hundreds of girls dressed up just like Stevie Nicks, and the platforms and the shawls. So I think you've made it when people come to your concert, Nick, and start dressing up like you.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So
but
what's been your favorite concert though?
My favorite concert, man. Well, I'll tell you what. My first, and this was part of what actually made me realize that it was something I wanted to do for a living and for a career. I went to my family surprised me with a Jason Mraz concert when I was kind of really getting into music, or getting more into music, I should say. And they surprised me with the Jason Mraz concert at the Wiltern. This was maybe in 2015, 2013, something like that. And I honestly teared up like when I was like watching him like in the very beginning of the set, and it was so inspiring for me, and it was so like a right indication of like this is exactly what I want to do. I want to be on that stage, and I want to be connecting with these people, like with people the way he is, and helping change people's lives through music. That was probably my favorite show, just because of the meaningfulness of it.
So that was like your Oprah aha moment.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been one of them for sure. Absolutely.
Well, then, besides him, who would you like to open for or tour with? Like, whose fans do you think would really mesh with you?
Oh, man. Well, like I said, Ed Sheeran, I think. I think my stuff is pretty similar and in line with him. I also do the looping thing when I perform live, so that's fun. I perform with a loop station. It's all live looping. Me and a little beatbox mic and playing on my guitar and stuff like that. So he would be cool.
You could play anywhere from Super Bowl to you could be a busker on a street corner with your little
Exactly. That's exactly
setup.
right. That's exactly
Have you ever done that? Have you ever been a busker?
Of course. Yeah. 3rd Street Promenade and wherever else. Absolutely. It's fun.
Well, what's the most tips you've made in one day?
Oh man. I don't think I could tell you. I remember one day I was playing, it wasn't busking, but it was, playing a little restaurant gig. And someone dropped me like $100 bill or something like that, and I was like, let's go.
Wow.
I got pretty excited. I had to like double check. I was like, is that really 100?
I'm impressed. That's
cool.
like a standing ovation. I mean, that's pretty damn cool. Well,
yeah, it was cool.
Well, don't you think, especially nowadays, with the 20-somethings, 30-somethings, live music is so festival-oriented. You know, Coachella, you know, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, are there any festivals that you would really love to play?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them.
Any one that I can get that I can be on, I would love to play it. No, I'd love to play Coachella. I mean, that's, you know, being a California kid, Southern California kid, I'd love to play that. I would love to do down the road, if my music ends up going in the direction of like a pop country kind of thing. I would love to. This has been a goal of mine, to play Stagecoach Coachella, and then the following week play Stagecoach. I think that would be a super cool thing to do. So that's down the road, but
Nice.
you know, that's a goal of mine.
Well, tell me too about the videos, because your videos are really sharp. So it sounds like, yeah. And I'm just curious. You know, you put so much work into it, but sometimes it seems like you just drop them and there's a vacuum. I mean, do you get enough response from people, you know? And I know everyone looks at numbers online, but do you really get a lot of direct feedback? People saying, yeah, I really liked what you did in that video. And how do you use the videos to get feedback?
Yeah, well, the videos I make with my brothers, at least the ones I've dropped so far, they're both filmmakers. So the first two I did with my older brother, Jake Isham. So if anybody's listening to this, his Instagram is @JakeCapturedThis. And
hey, I noticed that he did at least one of the photos on your website.
Yeah, he's also a photographer. That's exactly right, and he's very, very talented. Yeah. So yeah, I'm lucky to have two brothers, little in-house production company. So yeah, and then my younger brother Lex, he his Instagram is What's Next Lex, and he did the third one for I Want to Know. And we're in the works on Thinking Too Much, but yeah, kind of the process is just sitting down with them and, you know, spitballing ideas and seeing what we think would work well with the videos, and just kind of going for it, you know, just kind of put one foot in front of the other.
Well, I think too is also a consistency too. Because you want to try new things, but this is also almost like every video you put out is another, like, resume reel, basically. So I think people are looking, okay, what's the common thread in everything? Well, like, what would you say is the common thread so far in those first 4 songs and videos?
Well, I would say they're all kind of based around love, and finding, keeping love, and yeah, like Nothing Like You. You know, we had the kind of cool rotating camera thing with me and the different shots, but in the same shot. You know what I mean? And then Say It was a bunch of like kind of more of a home video-esque type shoot. And then I Want to Know is, you know, bringing awareness to drug abuse and domestic violence. And which I'm super passionate about in terms of bringing awareness to that stuff. So that, you know, from that video I got a lot of really, in terms of what you were saying about responses, got a lot of really cool responses. People, you know, just messaging me out of the blue on Instagram, Facebook, saying like, well, I appreciate what you're doing here, and you know, putting out this message here. And so that was really cool. I thought that was a really cool, rewarding thing.
So, you know, when you're building a fan base from scratch, it sounds like that's a meaningful way, whereas, you know, pop can be kind of fickle, but if they find meaning in your music, it sounds like they'll stick with you longer. Yeah,
I hope so. And that's what I try to do. You know, I really focus. At the end of the day, I love songwriting. That's my first passion. I mean, when I wrote my first song, I was hooked. that was like just the first thing that I just love about music is really being able to craft a really cool lyric and a really cool story that really resonates with the listener. You know, that someone can relate to, and that it can make an impact in their lives. So, you know, because I've been impacted by so many songs and music and all that stuff. So I would love, you know, to give that back to, you know, somebody else in the same way I
Oh,
do.
sure.
So, yeah.
No, I hear you. Well, I'm going to wrap up here in a little bit, but one thing I had to point out, you have had some interesting success already in getting your music placed on television. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did.
Now, what show did you get one of your songs put on?
So it was this show called American Crime. They were looking for songs, and I'd sent one in, and it was just a short scene where the actor sang the song. But yeah, they used my song, which was cool.
Because it seems like that's increasingly important to get your music on film and television.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge way to get noticed, especially today.
Yeah, and I've even seen careers start because, like, a song got in a TV commercial, even.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. Like, just numerous stories about, you know, people starting to actually create their whole career off of that.
Well, so for the hungry, ambitious musicians listening, how do you get your songs put in there? Is that a special agent, or is there some mysterious, way you get your music into those things?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, all sorts of ways. I've heard numerous stories of, all different ways of getting it in there. People can be signed to a publishing deal, where they're, being asked to write songs for things. People can just get in the writing room with other writers, and for the fellow hungry, ambitious songwriters out there, that's the biggest advice I can give, especially being proactive and not, wanting to wait for anybody else, even if you are signed to a publishing deal. Like, just getting in as many rooms as possible with as many songwriters, because, you never know who's going to have what connection, and who's going to, where the thing's going to come from. So just writing as much as possible with as many people as possible. Yeah.
Well, you've got a lot of life left to do a lot of writing, so I have a feeling you're going to be very prolific. I think that runs in the family. But anyway, you're very generous to promote your brother Jake and Lex's websites. Now's your time to blow your own horn, so what's the best way for people to go online and learn about you, hear the music, Instagram, Facebook? What are the places people should go to find you?
Yeah, so Instagram is at Nick Isham Music. That's a good spot. And then if you just go nickisham.com, that's my website, and everything is on there as well. So those are probably the two best landing spots.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm constantly playing shows. So anybody who's out in LA, and I'm going to be doing a tour coming up in like a little self put together tour.
And is Thinking Too Much has been released?
Yeah, Thinking Too Much is out. That's on Spotify. They're all on Spotify, Apple Music. They're all everywhere. So if you go on wherever the streaming platforms that you guys listen to, just type in my name, Nick Isham, and you'll see my music.
And that's where they can. Well, I encourage everyone to buy each of your singles, to play them in heavy rotation, and to, I think, collectively, let's put out this big mind energy thing and say, in 7 years, we can all see Nick Isham headlining at the Super Bowl. Can you do it in 7 years?
I love that. I love that. Yeah, no, I'm with that. That sounds good to me.
Okay, well, I'm going to be following your career, Nick, and I really appreciate you taking the time today to talk.
Cool, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.